On a crisp autumn evening at the SETI Institute in Mountain View, California, Dr. Maya Patel stared at her monitor in disbelief. After 15 years of scanning the cosmos for signs of intelligent life, the signal she'd just detected was unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. A clear, structured pattern emanating from Alpha Centauri, too precise to be natural and too complex to be dismissed. Director Collins. Maya's voice trembled as she called her superior. "You need to see this immediately." Within minutes, the observation room filled with scientists, their faces illuminated by the rhythmic pulses on the main display screen. The signal's pattern was elegant in its simplicity, a mathematical sequence that could only be artificial in origin. Director Collins, a veteran astronomer with silver hair and steady hands, leaned closer to the screen. "Send the verification protocols to NASA and the ESA. If this is what we think it is, everything changes tonight." Within hours, observatories across the globe confirmed the signal. Humanity had just received its first message from an alien civilization. The next 3 months transformed Earth's scientific community into a hive of activity. The signal contained detailed instructions for establishing two-way communication, along with complex mathematical proofs demonstrating the advanced nature of its senders. They called themselves the Nexer, and their initial messages spoke of peace, cultural exchange, and technological advancement. When the Nexer announced their intention to send a diplomatic vessel to Earth, the United Nations convened an emergency session. Despite some voices urging caution, the prevailing mood was one of optimism and excitement. Humanity would finally join the galactic community. The arrival of the first Nexer ship was a spectacle that united the world. Hovering above New York City, its crystalline structure caught the sunlight like a diamond suspended in the sky. The vessel's design defied conventional engineering, suggesting technological capabilities far beyond human understanding. Ambassador Ktarin, the Nexer representative, cut an imposing figure as they addressed the UN General Assembly. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, with iridescent skin and multiple sets of arms, they spoke of friendship between civilizations and shared prosperity. Their universal translator converted their harmonic language into perfect English, and their promises of sharing medical and technological advances were met with thunderous applause. "The Nexer Collective welcomes humanity as equals," Ktarin announced. "We have watched your species overcome countless challenges, and we believe you are ready to join the greater galactic community." Dr. Maya Patel, now serving on the newly formed Human Nexer Cultural Exchange Committee, couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. The Nexer shared impressive technological advances, cures for several diseases, improved energy systems, and enhanced agricultural methods. But they consistently deflected questions about their defensive capabilities and the location of their homeworld. Her concerns found an ally in General Sarah Hayes of the United States Space Force. "They're showing us their hand, but not their cards," Hayes commented during a classified briefing. "Every piece of technology they've shared is civilian in nature. They're carefully controlling what we learn about their military capabilities." Maya's suspicions grew when she noticed subtle discrepancies in the Nexer's historical accounts. Their stories of peaceful contact with other civilizations contained gaps and inconsistencies. Working late one night, she discovered encrypted data buried within the original signal, data that painted a very different picture of Nexer history. Before she could report her findings, the second wave arrived. Thousands of Nexer ships appeared in high orbit, their sudden presence triggering global defense systems. Ambassador Ktarin's peaceful demeanor vanished, replaced by cold efficiency. "Humanity has proven itself worthy of ascension," they announced through all global communication channels. "The process of integration will now begin. Resistance would be unfortunate, but ultimately futile. Your military installations will be neutralized first, followed by systematic population control measures. This is not conquest, it is evolution." The betrayal struck like a thunderbolt. The Nexer's true nature became clear. They were not mentors but colonizers, using technological gifts to assess and weaken potential resistance. Their pattern of peaceful contact followed by overwhelming force had claimed countless civilizations across the galaxy. As Nexar ships positioned themselves above major cities, humanity faced its greatest crisis. The very technology meant to advance civilization now threatened its existence. Military responses proved ineffective against Nexar shields, and global communications were rapidly failing. Yet in this darkest moment, Dr. Maya Patel made a crucial discovery. Hidden within the encrypted data was evidence of something the Nexar feared, a civilization that had successfully resisted their ascension. The key to their defeat lay in understanding the quantum principles behind their shield technology. In a secure facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Maya shared her findings with General Hayes and a select group of scientists. "The Nexar aren't invincible," she explained, her voice steady despite the distant sound of explosions. "They're vulnerable to their own technology. We just need to learn how to turn it against them." As Nexar ships began their systematic neutralization of Earth's defenses, humanity prepared for a fight that would determine its very existence. The knowledge Maya had uncovered became the foundation for a desperate plan, one that would either save Earth or seal its fate. The first phase of the Nexar invasion had begun, but they were about to learn a crucial lesson. Humanity doesn't submit easily to chains, no matter how advanced their makers may be. The underground facility, known as the Vault, buzzed with frantic energy. 3 weeks had passed since the Nexar's true intentions became clear, and humanity's window for survival narrowed with each passing day. In a reinforced laboratory deep within the complex, Dr. Maya Patel hadn't slept in 36 hours. "The quantum signature is the key," she muttered, eyes fixed on holographic projections of Nexar shield frequencies. Around her, a team of the world's brightest physicists and engineers worked tirelessly, fueled by determination and industrial-strength coffee. General Hayes strode into the lab, her uniform bearing the dust of recent surface operations. "The Nexar just took Singapore," she announced grimly. "Their pattern remains consistent. Disable military infrastructure, then establish control centers in major cities. We're running out of time." Maya nodded without looking up from her work. "I think we found something. The Nexar shields operate on a quantum frequency that shouldn't be possible according to our understanding of physics. But look at this." She gestured to a complex wave pattern. "There's a flaw in their perfection." Dr. Kaijong, a quantum physicist from Beijing's Institute of Advanced Research, joined them at the display. "The Nexar shields create a perfect quantum barrier by synchronizing particles across multiple dimensions. Perfect, except..." He manipulated the hologram, zooming in on a particular frequency range. "Every 12 hours, there's a microsecond fluctuation. A fluctuation we can exploit?" Hayes asked, leaning closer. "Better," Maya replied. "We can amplify it. The same principle that makes their shields impenetrable could be turned into a catastrophic vulnerability. We're calling it Project Prometheus, stealing fire from the gods." The concept was ambitious. Create a quantum resonance device that would transform the Nexar's own shield frequency into a destructive wave. Success would mean not just defending against their technology, but turning it into a weapon against them. In the weeks that followed, the Vault became the center of humanity's technological resistance. Nations set aside decades of mistrust, pooling resources and expertise. Chinese quantum computers worked in tandem with American AI systems, while Russian engineers collaborated with European particle physicists. The first breakthrough came during a test of the resonance prototype. A captured piece of Nexar technology was placed in a reinforced chamber. When the device activated, the alien metal didn't just deactivate. It completely destabilized, collapsing in on itself. "It's like a quantum version of feedback loop," Maya explained to the gathered military leaders. "Their shields are so perfectly tuned that when we hit the right frequency, the disruption cascades through their entire system." But developing a working prototype was only half the battle. The device needed to be powerful enough to affect Nexar ships in orbit, yet stable enough not to tear itself apart. Each test brought them closer, but also revealed new challenges. During one particularly frustrating trial, Maya found herself staring at a photo of her family on her desk. Her daughter's smile reminded her of what they were fighting for. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival, they were fighting for their future. An unexpected breakthrough came from an unlikely source. Dr. Sarah Chen, a young researcher who had been studying Nexar communication protocols, noticed a pattern. Their quantum shields don't just protect their ships, she revealed during an emergency meeting. They're part of a linked network. If we can disrupt one ship's shields at the right frequency, it could create a chain reaction. Maya finished, excitement building in her voice. We don't need to target their entire fleet, just find the weak link. The project accelerated. Testing moved from the laboratory to a hidden facility in the Nevada desert. Each trial brought them closer to success, but also drew unwanted attention. Nexar scanning vessels began showing increased interest in the area. General Hayes ordered the evacuation of non-essential personnel just hours before the first Nexar strike. The attack confirmed they were on the right track. The aliens had detected enough to know they needed to stop whatever was being developed. In the chaos of the evacuation, Maya made a critical decision. The prototype wasn't ready, but they were out of options. We need to deploy now, she insisted during an emergency conference with military leadership. The Nexar are preparing for their final push. If we wait for perfection, we won't get another chance. Dr. Zhang agreed, though his expression was grim. The device is stable enough for one major deployment. After that, he left the implications unspoken. As the team prepared for humanity's last stand, Maya received an encrypted message from a monitoring station in Antarctica. The Nexar fleet was mobilizing for what appeared to be their endgame, a massive coordinated strike against Earth's remaining military installations. In the vault's main control center, Maya watched as Project Prometheus was loaded onto specially modified aircraft. The device, their last hope, looked almost primitive compared to Nexar technology. But appearances could be deceiving. Humanity's greatest strength, she told the assembled team, has always been our ability to adapt, to turn adversity into advantage. The Nexar think their technology makes them invincible. Let's show them why that's their greatest weakness. As the first rays of dawn touched the Nevada desert, humanity prepared to launch its counterattack. The next 24 hours would determine the fate of the species. Project Prometheus was about to meet its moment of truth, and with it, the future of Earth hung in the balance. Dawn broke over the Nevada desert as Operation Firestarter commenced. 3 squadrons of modified F-35s, each carrying components of Project Prometheus, lifted off from hidden runways. In the vault's command center, Maya and her team monitored the quantum resonance readings with bated breath. Remember, Maya's voice crackled over the secure channel. The device needs to get within 10 kilometers of a Nexar ship to establish the quantum link. After that, you'll have exactly 47 seconds to clear the blast radius. Colonel Maria Ramirez, leading the primary squadron, acknowledged with characteristic calm. Copy that. Control. We've got one shot at this. Let's make it count. The mission targeted a Nexar command ship hovering above the Pacific Ocean, coordinating their forces along the western seaboard. Intelligence suggested it was a vital node in their shield network, the perfect testing ground for Project Prometheus. As the squadrons approached the target zone, Nexar defense systems sprang to life. The alien ships moved with impossible grace, their automated defenses filling the sky with plasma bolts that turned clouds to steam. Evasive maneuvers, Ramirez ordered as her squadron scattered. Remember your training. Their tracking systems have a 3-second predictive delay. Use it. The human pilots demonstrated why they'd been chosen for this mission. Flying patterns that would have torn apart lesser aircraft, they wove through the Nexar defenses. Each near miss and desperate dodge brought them closer to their target. In the vault, Maya watched the tactical display with white-knuckle tension. The quantum readings from Project Prometheus were stable, but they wouldn't remain so for long. The device was already starting to show signs of stress from the high-G maneuvers. "Squadron 2, you have incoming," General Hayes barked into the comm. "3 bogeys on your 6. The warning came too late. 2 F-35s erupted in balls of flame, their pilots barely managing to eject. The loss hit hard, but there was no time to mourn. The remaining aircraft pressed forward, adapting their formation to cover the gap. "We're approaching optimal range," Ramirez reported, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "Preparing to activate Prometheus." The moment of truth arrived. Maya initiated the activation sequence, and Project Prometheus hummed to life. The quantum resonance readings spiked, and for a terrifying moment, the device seemed to fluctuate wildly. "Energy signature stabilizing," Dr. Zhang reported. "Quantum link establishing with Nexar shields." Now, the effect was immediate and dramatic. The massive Nexar command shields flickered, geometric patterns of energy rippling across its surface. For a moment, nothing else happened, and Maya felt her heart sink. Then the cascade began. Like dominoes falling in reverse, the disruption spread through the Nexar shield network. Ship after ship experienced shield failures, their perfect defenses turned into a liability. The quantum feedback loop Maya had theorized wasn't just working. It was exceeding all expectations. Multiple Nexar vessels showing critical shield failures. A technician announced, his voice rising with excitement. "The chain reaction is spreading faster than predicted." But the Nexar weren't defeated yet. As their shields failed, they launched a desperate counterattack. Energy weapons of devastating power lashed out, catching several more human aircraft. The sky above the Pacific became a battlefield of light and fire. Colonel Ramirez's voice cut through the chaos. "Control, we're seeing something new. The Nexar ships. They're adapting, trying to isolate their shield networks. We need to press the advantage now." Maya made a split-second decision. All squadrons converge on the command ship. Full power to Prometheus. We might not get another chance. The remaining fighters executed a coordinated strike, diving through gaps in the Nexar defenses. Project Prometheus's energy output redlined, the device pushing far beyond its tested limits. In a moment that would be remembered in history books, the massive Nexar command ship shields completely collapsed. The feedback loop had torn through its defenses, leaving it vulnerable. Earth's conventional weapons, previously useless against Nexar technology, finally found their mark. The command ship's destruction was spectacular, a cascade of explosions that lit up the dawn sky. But more importantly, it proved what humanity had hoped. The Nexar could be hurt, could be beaten. As the surviving aircraft returned to base, the mood in the vault was a complex mixture of triumph and solemnity. They'd achieved their first major victory, but at a heavy cost, and intercepted Nexar communications suggested the aliens were already working to adapt their shield frequencies. "They'll try to counter this," General Hayes stated, studying the after-action reports. "We've shown our hand. They'll be ready next time." Maya nodded, already reviewing the data from the battle. "Then we'll need to be ready too. Project Prometheus worked better than we hoped, but it's just the beginning. The real fight is still ahead." Around the world, news of the victory spread like wildfire. Humanity had bloodied the nose of their invaders, proving they weren't invincible after all. But as Maya and her team prepared for the Nexar's inevitable response, one question loomed. Had they just turned the tide of war, or merely postponed the inevitable? The answer would come sooner than anyone expected, and it would reshape the course of the conflict in ways no one could have predicted. In the 48 hours following Project Prometheus's successful deployment, the Nexar's response was unprecedented. Their ships retreated to high orbit, regrouping in formations that puzzled Earth's military analysts. The victory celebration was cut short by an unsettling realization. The aliens weren't running away. They were preparing something big. Maya hadn't left the vault since the battle, analyzing data streams from the engagement. "Look at these readings," she pointed out to Dr. Zhang, and General Hayes. Just before their command ship was destroyed, there was a massive energy spike we can't account for. Could it be a weapon we haven't seen yet? Hayes asked, frowning at the displays. No, Maya shook her head. This was different. More like a transmission. An enormous amount of data was broadcast into deep space. The implications were chilling. If the Nexer had called for reinforcements, Earth's reprieve would be brief. But amid the concern, Maya noticed something else in the data, something that could change everything. The quantum resonance patterns during shield collapse, she explained, excitement creeping into her tired voice. They weren't random. The Nexer shields generate a specific frequency signature when they fail. If we can decode it, we could predict their adaptations. Zhang finished, already pulling up analysis algorithms. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Sarah Foster, a cryptography specialist who'd been studying Nexer communication patterns, burst into the lab with wide eyes. Dr. Patel, the transmission. It wasn't just a distress call. It was scared. The room fell silent. Scared? Hayes asked skeptically. Foster nodded emphatically. Their communication patterns show emotional signatures. We've been analyzing them for months. This one was different. There was panic, genuine fear. Project Prometheus didn't just hurt them physically. It terrified them. Maya's mind raced with the implications. If the Nexer could feel fear, they weren't the invincible conquerors they pretended to be. More importantly, fear could be exploited. The next revelation came during a routine sensor sweep. A junior technician noticed something odd about the Nexer's new formation. Their ships had arranged themselves in a complex geometric pattern, all maintaining precise distances from each other. It's not just a defensive formation, Maya realized, studying the pattern. It's a quantum stabilization grid. They're trying to protect themselves from another Prometheus attack by distributing their shield frequencies across multiple vessels. But this defensive adaptation revealed a crucial weakness. By linking their shields together, the Nexer had created a larger, more complex network, one that could be even more vulnerable to the right kind of disruption. Working around the clock, Maya's team modified Project Prometheus. The new version wouldn't target individual ships, but would instead exploit the interconnected nature of their shield grid. It was a risky strategy. If it failed, they'd lose their only effective weapon against the Nexer. We've detected movement in the Nexer fleet, Hayes announced one morning, her expression grim. They're positioning for a massive strike. Every major city, military installation, and power grid will be hit simultaneously. They're not taking chances this time. The world's remaining military forces mobilized for what could be humanity's last stand. Project Prometheus had been modified and distributed to key locations around the globe. The plan was audacious. A coordinated strike that would hit multiple points in the Nexer's defense grid simultaneously. As final preparations were made, Maya received an unexpected message. The encryption was like nothing she'd seen before, but the content was clear. Not all Nexer supported the invasion. A small faction, watching the conflict from afar, had been impressed by humanity's resilience. They provided critical information about the main fleet's shield synchronization protocols. This changes everything, Maya told the assembled military leaders. We don't just have a weapon anymore. We have inside knowledge of how their entire defense system works. The next 12 hours were a blur of activity. Every available resource was directed toward implementing the new intelligence. Modified Prometheus devices were installed on everything from fighter jets to civilian aircraft. The plan required perfect timing. Every device would need to activate at exactly the same moment to overcome the Nexer's distributed shields. As the Nexer fleet began their descent toward Earth's atmosphere, humanity prepared for the most coordinated military action in its history. Ships, planes, and ground installations around the world stood ready, waiting for the signal. In the Vault's command center, Maya watched the countdown with heart-pounding intensity. Everything hinged on this moment. The Nexer's overconfidence in their technology had led them to create an interconnected defense system. Now that same system could be their undoing. "All stations report ready," Hayes announced. "Waiting for your signal, Dr. Patel." Maya took a deep breath, her hand hovering over the activation control. Years of scientific work, months of desperate development, and the fate of humanity had led to this moment. "Let's remind them," she said firmly, "why you should never underestimate human ingenuity." She pressed the button, initiating a chain of events that would determine the future of both species. The final battle for Earth was about to begin, and this time, humanity had more than just technology on their side. They had understanding of their enemy, and sometimes that made all the difference. The sky erupted in a display that defied description. As Project Prometheus activated simultaneously across the globe, the Nexar's quantum shield grid lit up like a constellation. The cascading resonance effect was beautiful and terrifying, waves of energy rippling through their once impenetrable defenses. "Quantum cascade initiated," Maya announced, her voice steady despite the tension. "Shield disruption at 30%, 40%, 60%. A blinding flash interrupted her count. The Nexar's synchronized defense grid, their supposed ultimate protection, had become their greatest vulnerability. Ship after ship lost shield integrity, their perfectly coordinated network transforming into a chain of catastrophic failures. But the Nexar had one final card to play. From their flagship, a massive energy signature began to build. "They're activating something big," John warned, his instruments going haywire. Energy readings off the scale. The alien flagship's hull split open, revealing what appeared to be a massive quantum cannon, technology far beyond anything they'd previously displayed. "This is High Commander Xarin," a familiar voice boomed across all frequencies. "You have proven troublesome. Observe now the price of defiance." The weapon fired, its beam cutting through the atmosphere toward the vault's location. But at that crucial moment, something unexpected happened. A group of Nexar ships suddenly broke formation, their weapons turning against their own flagship. "This is Sub-Commander Vexry," a new voice transmitted. "The Resistance stands with humanity. High Commander, your cycle of conquest ends today." The rebel Nexar ships, though fewer in number, had positioned themselves perfectly. Their concentrated fire, combined with the flagship's weakened shields, proved devastating. The quantum cannon's beam went wide, carving a harmless path through empty desert as the flagship began to break apart. In the vault's command center, Maya and her team worked frantically to capitalize on this unexpected advantage. Redirecting Prometheus resonance to support the rebel ships, she called out. "Synchronizing frequencies. Now." The effect was immediate. The rebel Nexar's shields remained intact while the invasion fleet's defenses continued to fail. It was the turning point they'd been waiting for. Around the world, humanity's military forces launched their counterattack. Fighter jets engaged disabled Nexar ships at point-blank range. Ground-based weapons, previously useless against alien shields, now found their marks. The coordinated assault, combined with the rebel Nexar's support, proved overwhelming. High Commander Xarin's final transmission was filled with disbelief. "Impossible. You were supposed to be primitive, manageable." "That was your first mistake," Maya responded, though she knew the alien commander couldn't hear her. "You thought technology alone determined a species' worth." The battle lasted another 3 hours, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. One by one, the invasion fleet's ships were disabled or destroyed. The remaining vessels, recognizing their defeat, retreated to deep space, pursued by their rebel brethren. In the aftermath, as the dust settled and the adrenaline faded, humanity began to process what they'd achieved. The cost had been enormous: cities damaged, lives lost, the world forever changed. But they had faced extinction and emerged victorious. Sub-Commander Vexry, now the representative of the Nexar resistance, met with Earth's leaders in the rebuilt United Nations headquarters. The tall alien's posture was one of respect, not condescension. We watched countless civilizations fall to the Dominion's ascension program, Vexry explained. Most submitted. Some fought and lost. But you did what no others could. You turned our greatest strength into a weakness. You adapted. You survived. And in doing so, you gave hope to others across the galaxy. The peace negotiations that followed were complex but productive. The rebel Nexar shared their knowledge freely, this time with genuine intentions of cooperation. Earth would not join any alien collective. Instead, humanity would forge its own path among the stars. In the vault, now transformed into Earth's premier research facility for xenotechnology, Maya stood before a memorial to those lost in the conflict. General Hayes joined her, both women contemplating the list of names. "Think they'll come back?" Hayes asked, referring to the retreated invasion fleet. Maya shook her head. "No, they learned something important here. Technology isn't everything. It's how you use it, how you adapt it, how you overcome its limitations. That's what makes a species truly advanced. And if they do return," Hayes pressed. Maya smiled, gesturing to the facility around them, where humans and rebel Nexar now worked side by side, combining their knowledge in ways neither species had imagined possible. "Then we'll be ready. We're not just survivors anymore. We're pioneers." As the sun set on this new era of human history, satellites detected the last of the Nexar invasion fleet disappearing into deep space. But humanity's gaze remained fixed on the stars, not in fear, but in anticipation. They had proven themselves equal to the greatest challenge in their history, and in doing so, had earned something precious, not just survival, but the right to forge their own destiny among the stars. The Nexar had come to Earth expecting to find primitives ready for conquest. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant and taught humanity an invaluable lesson. In the face of extinction, innovation flourishes, courage rises, and the impossible becomes possible. Earth's first interstellar war had ended. Its age of galactic exploration was about to begin.